The year was 1933. Germany, still reeling from its defeat in World War I, was ripe for a demagogue. Adolf Hitler, a charismatic and ruthless leader, stepped into the void. He offered simple solutions to complex problems. He blamed Jews, communists, and other minorities for Germany's woes. Hitler's message resonated with a population desperate for change. The Nazi Party, once a fringe group, gained widespread support. Hitler's stormtroopers terrorized opponents, silencing dissent. In 1933, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany, marking the beginning of the Nazi regime. Hitler quickly consolidated his power. He outlawed other political parties, turning Germany into a one-party state. He established the Gestapo, a secret police force that ruthlessly crushed any opposition. Hitler's grip on Germany was tightening, and the world watched with growing unease. At the heart of the Nazi regime was a poisonous ideology. It was a toxic mix of extreme nationalism, racial purity, and anti-Semitism. The Nazis believed in the superiority of the Aryan race. They saw themselves as the master race, destined to rule the world. Jews, on the other hand, were deemed inferior. They were scapegoated for Germany's problems. The Nazis used propaganda to spread their hateful message. Jews were portrayed as parasites, as enemies of the state. The Nazis also targeted other groups deemed undesirable. This included Roma people, homosexuals, and people with disabilities. These groups were persecuted, imprisoned, and murdered. The Nazi ideology was a blueprint for genocide. In 1939, Hitler unleashed his war machine on Europe. Poland was the first to fall, quickly followed by Denmark, Norway, and France. Great Britain, under the leadership of Winston Churchill, stood alone against the Nazi onslaught. In the summer of 1940, Hitler unleashed the Blitz. Night after night, German bombers pounded London and other British cities. The skies lit up with the terrifying glow of incendiaries. Buildings crumbled under a hail of bombs. Yet the British people refused to break. They displayed extraordinary courage and resilience. Ordinary citizens risked their lives to fight fires, rescue the wounded, and maintain essential services. The spirit of defiance was epitomized by Churchill's stirring speeches. He rallied the nation, declaring, "We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall never surrender." While the Battle of Britain raged, the Nazis were carrying out a systematic campaign of extermination against Jews across Europe. This genocide, known as the Holocaust, remains one of the darkest chapters in human history. Jews were rounded up and deported to concentration camps. These camps were places of unimaginable horror. Men, women, and children were subjected to starvation, torture, and slave labor. Many were murdered upon arrival in gas chambers. The Nazis' goal was the complete annihilation of the Jewish people. By the war's end, 6 million Jews had been murdered. The Holocaust was not just a Jewish tragedy, it was a crime against humanity. It stands as a stark reminder of the dangers of hatred, prejudice, and indifference. Section 5: The Road to War. Political and social upheaval. The seeds of World War II were sown in the aftermath of World War I. The Treaty of Versailles, which officially ended the war, imposed harsh penalties on Germany. Germany was forced to accept blame for the war, cede territory, and pay crippling reparations. These terms created resentment and instability in Germany. The German economy was in ruins. Hyperinflation wiped out savings and plunged millions into poverty. Political extremism flourished in this climate of despair. The Nazi Party capitalized on this unrest, promising to restore German pride and prosperity. The global Great Depression further exacerbated the situation. As economies crumbled, nations turned inward, embracing protectionism and nationalism. The League of Nations, formed after World War I to prevent future conflicts, proved powerless to stop the slide toward war. Section 6: The Allied Response. Churchill's Leadership. With Europe on the brink of collapse, Winston Churchill emerged as a beacon of hope. His unwavering belief in victory inspired the British people and rallied the Allied forces. Churchill's speeches were legendary. He used his mastery of language to galvanize the nation. He famously declared, "We shall not flag or fail. We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be." Churchill forged a close alliance with U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, The United States, initially hesitant to enter the war, provided crucial material aid to Britain through the Lend-Lease program. The tide began to turn in 1941, when Germany, breaking its pact with the Soviet Union, invaded Russia. Section 7 D-Day, Turning the Tide. June 6, 1944 marked a turning point in the war. On this day, known as D-Day, Allied forces launched a massive invasion of Normandy, France. It was the largest amphibious assault in history. Over 150,000 troops stormed the beaches of Normandy, facing fierce resistance from German defenders. The fighting was brutal and costly, but the Allies gained a foothold in France. The liberation of Europe had begun. The D-Day invasion was a testament to the courage and sacrifice of the Allied soldiers. It marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. Section 8. The Nuremberg Trials, Justice After War. In the aftermath of World War II, the world grappled with the enormity of Nazi crimes. The Nuremberg Trials, held in Nuremberg, Germany, were a landmark event in the history of international law. For the first time, high-ranking Nazi officials were held accountable for their actions. The trials exposed the horrors of the Holocaust and other Nazi atrocities to the world. They established the principle that individuals, regardless of their rank or position, are responsible for their crimes. The Nuremberg trials set an important precedent for international criminal justice. They affirmed that crimes against humanity would not go unpunished. Section 9. Voices of the War, Personal Stories of Triumph and Tragedy. World War II was more than just a clash of armies and ideologies. It was a human drama on an unprecedented scale. Millions of ordinary people were caught up in the maelstrom, their lives forever changed by the conflict. Their stories provide a poignant and intimate perspective on the war. There are countless tales of courage, sacrifice, and resilience. We hear from soldiers who stormed the beaches of Normandy, nurses who tended to the wounded, and civilians who endured bombing raids and occupation. We also hear stories of unimaginable loss and suffering. Survivors of the Holocaust share their harrowing experiences, bearing witness to the depths of human cruelty. These personal accounts serve as a reminder that war is not just about statistics and battle plans. It is about the human cost, the individual lives shattered and forever altered by conflict.